world of temporary fixes and fleeting commitments, what does it take to build something that lasts? Welcome to A House Upon the Rock, Forging an Unshakable Marriage. This is a series dedicated to exploring the timeless biblical principles that can turn a fragile house of cards into a fortress of faith, love, and lifelong partnership. I am Brother Wayne Hudson, your host. I have dedicated over 23 years to counseling and ministering to families, a biblical relationship counselor, and a pillar of the Home of Grace ministry in Van Cleve, Mississippi. Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. Over the years, I've learned a thing or two, not just from counseling, but from life itself. I've owned a few rental homes in my time, and let me tell you, I've had some experiences, good tenants, bad tenants. I've seen it all. But I can honestly say that even the best tenant I ever had, they never cared for that house the way they would have if it was their own. And I don't hold it against them. It's just human nature. Think about it. Have you ever rented a car? Be honest now. Did you pop the hood and check the oil while you had it? If you did, you're a rare breed, my friend. 1 in a million. I remember having to go out to one of my rental properties, usually to collect rent, that was a little behind schedule. And I'd pull up and see a yard full of, well, let's call it creative engineering. I'd see a junk car jacked up and resting on an old washing machine because, apparently, he'd run out of concrete blocks. I might gently point out that several windows had cardboard where glass was supposed to be. And he'd always say the same thing. Oh yeah, Brother Wayne, I've got somebody coming to get those cars, and I'm going to fix those windows this Saturday. Well, Saturday would come and go. 2 months later, they'd be gone. No rent paid, and I'd be the one hauling off junk cars and old refrigerators. Why? It's simple. It wasn't their house. They didn't have an owner's mentality. They had a renter's mentality. Now let's bring this home. How in the world does this apply to a marriage? A fellow minister, Jimmy Evans, puts it beautifully. He says that couples get married with these sky-high expectations. But when problems pop up, and believe me, they always do, and all those emotions start swirling, hearts get broken, this is the very moment the marriage needs the most attention. But because those expectations feel like they're being crushed, it's often the time couples give it the least attention. That right there is a marriage renter's mentality. When trouble comes, a person with a renter's mentality starts thinking, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't what I signed up for. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I didn't realize he was Satan incarnate, or I didn't realize she was going to be so demanding. That's when that thought creeps in. If things don't get better soon, I'm out of here. They're ready to bail. A marriage renter just won't roll up their sleeves and do the hard work. But a marriage owner, an owner will do whatever it takes. There is nothing more freeing, more powerful in a marriage than when you finally decide, I own this. I am in this till death do us part, and of course I'm going to do whatever it takes. I would no more leave this person than I would cut off my own arm. When you get to that place, you finally own your marriage. Otherwise, you're just renting. And when you make that decision, that deep soul-level decision to own it, something amazing happens. Those little things that drove you absolutely nuts before, they just don't seem so irritating anymore. Your tolerance level goes way up because you're not just trying to get through the day. You're on a lifetime journey together. You start laughing about your differences instead of fighting over them. As Proverbs says, a merry heart does good like medicine. Now, in my experience, there are a couple types of people who really struggle to ever get to that place of ownership. Evans calls them the Naïve Optimist and the Hopeless Pessimist. The Naïve Optimist dives in with rose-colored glasses, thinking love and chemistry will conquer all. They don't see the need for premarital counseling or advice, and when real problems hit, their perfect picture shatters. Then you have the hopeless pessimist. They've seen bad marriages, maybe lived through them, and they just don't believe it can work. And you know what? For them, they're right. Because as the scripture says, even Jesus couldn't do mighty works in a place where there was no faith. So who can make it? The triumphant realist. This is the person who says, look, we're going to have troubles. We're imperfect people in an imperfect world. But in spite of all that, we are going to make it. We will not give up when things get tough. This is the kind of transformation I've had the privilege of witnessing for over 2 decades. It's what we do at the Home of Grace. For over 60 years, the Home of Grace in Van Cleve, Mississippi, has been a place where people find a new beginning. It's an addiction recovery center, yes, but it's so much more. It's a place where men and women broken by life and their own choices are introduced to the life-changing power of Jesus Christ. They learn to stop renting their lives and, through faith, take ownership. They rebuild, they restore, and they learn to forge unshakable foundations, not just for their sobriety, but for their families and their futures. If you or someone you know is struggling, I urge you to visit homeofgrace.org, find us on Facebook, or call us at 228-826-5283. It is never too late for a life to be transformed by the peace that only Christ can bring. That transformation, that decision to become a triumphant realist, it reminds me of a story I once told a friend of mine. She was at the end of her rope with her marriage. She and her husband had 2 kids, but he took little responsibility, leaving her to juggle a job, the kids, and all the housework. He was perfectly happy being a permanent fixture on the couch every weekend. She had dragged him to counseling, but even the counselor wasn't very hopeful. She was ready to give up. I asked her to do one more thing, for 6 months react in the complete opposite way of her feelings. Instead of nagging him to mow the lawn, she should just do it herself. When he was on the sofa, she should go put her arm around him and ask if he needed anything. She committed to do it. And folks, I'm telling you, that was about 3 years ago, and today she is happily married to a new version of the same man, a husband who helps with the house, the kids, and enjoys being with her. You might call it a miracle, and it is, but it's a miracle built on a powerful principle. You will almost always get out of a relationship what you put into it. The moment you start keeping score, you're renting. When you stop keeping score and start giving unconditionally, you own your marriage. It's like the old story of the grandpa taking his very first plane ride. He was nervous, gripping the armrests, his feet planted firmly on the floor. The flight attendant came by and said, "Sir, you can relax. Lean back." He looked at her and said, "Oh, no, ma'am. This thing is carrying enough weight as it is. I'm holding myself up." Can you see it? There was no way that Grandpa could enjoy the ride because he never put his full weight down. He never fully committed to trusting the plane. It's the same with our marriages. We can't enjoy the journey if we're constantly holding ourselves back. One foot out the door, ready to jump if things get turbulent. The Apostle Peter tells us to give all diligence to add to our faith, virtue, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, and love. He says if we have these things, we won't be unfruitful. But if we lack them, we're short-sighted, even blind. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to live as though you're renting your marriage. Through the grace of God and a decision in your own heart, you can own it. And when you choose that path, you'll begin to experience a life together that you never knew was possible. Thank you for joining us for A House Upon the Rock. If today's message has spoken to you, we encourage you to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, may you build your house upon the rock of God's unchanging truth.